And welcome back to the Hot Lap, where we have to say absolutely congratulations, Max Verstappen, on being a 3 times world champion. Absolutely fantastic. I mean, brilliant. What can you say? What can you say? Max Verstappen, world champion. He absolutely dominated the season. As we've been saying, he has been the best car and driver combination this year. And it was somewhat fitting in a way that poor old Sergio Perez ended up in the gravel trap. I mean, oh my. What can you say? And also, a massive congratulations to Oscar Piastri, his first sprint race pole after coming so close in Belgium. His first sprint race victory. And I was literally just on the phone a few seconds ago to my brother, who also loves the F1. And he made an interesting point. He basically said that out of the last 3 McLaren drivers, it's Lando Norris that actually hasn't won anything, which kind of breaks my heart, really. But today we saw the best of Norris, we saw the worst of Norris. We will get into that in a bit. And this was the moment that Max Verstappen became world champion, as through no fault of his own, other than the fact you could make an argument that yes, he qualified further back, therefore things like that, there's a higher chance of it happening. But Sergio Perez, through no fault of his own, ended up going out, unfortunately. And this was the start where McLaren had that 1-2. Lando Norris got an absolute shocker. And then seemingly it did feel like, from a McLaren fan, if you were watching it, it was getting passed by the whole grid. I know it wasn't the case in the end. But, Lando. But, to be fair, I think he did a massive comeback. One of the criticisms I've had of Lando Norris is not getting his elbows out like a George Russell, for example, that we've seen in the past. But this time, yes, he did lose positions. But for example, his battle with Fernando Alonso and his battles with the Ferrari, he really got his elbows out. So we kind of saw the best of Norris, the worst of Norris. But let's get into our winners and losers, and of course, our first winner with the big cheesy grin is Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen, winner, 3 times champ. Why does it say Oscar Piastri McLaren down there? That's really bad editing from me. Naughty. But Max Verstappen, 3 times champion. Absolutely fantastic. However, we have another winner, and our winner, first sprint pole, first sprint win, Oscar Piastri. I mean, he's up there. Look at that big cheesy. Look at the cheesy grin. Fantastic for Piastri. I'm so happy for him. Mark Webber must be absolutely over the moon for him. And a massive congratulations to Oscar Piastri. What could he do in the race tomorrow? He starts 6th, but big thumbs up. He had a perfect start. Then he got passed by George Russell on the softs, that tyre offset. He kept his cool. He passed George Russell. We were worried. I was worried for Piastri, and Max Verstappen got into second. But despite exchanging fastest laps, he stood tall. Piastri stood strong. He was as fast as Verstappen, and he beat him. Well done. So, who is our? I don't really want to say loser, but Liam Lawson. I mean, he did okay. He's done well in qualifying. We still love you, Liam. We really do. It's part of this isn't just. But on the first lap, he completely does sideswipe the car and goes out of the race. Oh, poor Liam. I mean, I feel for him. I really do. I feel for Liam Lawson, but he did show he was a rookie today. I guess this could have happened to everyone, but it didn't. It happened to Liam Lawson and obviously Mr. Sargent. But Liam, not quite here at a 0. We still love you. We can't wait for you to be on the grid, maybe even next year. You never know. After Perez's shocking qualifying. But not a good race for Liam Lawson. Come back stronger tomorrow. So, I mean, that's our winner. That's basically our winners and losers. And that's obviously the moment Liam Lawson went off, just lost it by himself. I thought, oh gosh, surely he's hit somebody, but alas, that was not to be. That was not the case. But let's get it. I mean, let's get into it. This is from Oliver Harden on PlanetF1.com. Now, Lando Norris, he's conceded that Oscar Piastri has simply done a better job at the Qatar Grand Prix after the McLaren rookie took his first victory in the sprint race. As we know, we've said he took pole in the sprint in the sprint shooter, bouncing back from losing the lead on that first lap from George Russell, and he withstood that late threat from Max Verstappen. Now, despite being the quicker of the two McLaren drivers, all throughout practice and looking like in qualifying, I mean, Lando Norris looked like he was going to get that pole until he messed up on that last lap. He's been error prone. Really, this week, very unlike Lando, but he's hoping to emulate Oscar's success. He lost the chance to take pole before falling to second. Now he remains without a win for almost 5 full seasons since arriving on the grid in 2019. And Piastri's rapid success has not lost. I don't think it's been lost on old Norris in terms of experience. 2019, he's becoming an old head, isn't he? But he said, first of all, congrats to Oscar, congrats to Max, his first win, earlier than mine, so a big well done to him. I imagine that hurt him to say that, but fair play for Lando. He went on to say, a tough race for me, a bad start made everything trickier, but we fought back well. Some fun racing, good overtakes all the way until that last lap on George. So tough, but another podium for us and our team, and it's been a mega day. Now, asked if his win could be on the horizon, he replied, I hope so. I've been trying a long time, but Oscar's done a mega job. He was on pole this weekend. He went on to say, I made a lot of the mistakes, and he hasn't, and he's capitalised, and he's done a better job, so hats off to him. I mean, fair play for Lando. You can't really argue with that at all, can you? I mean, well done. So the key questions surrounding F1's Qatar GP drama, if you look to that, they reprofiled one of the, I think a couple of the corners because they're worried about tyre wear and they're worried about, things happening to the tyres. Anyone remembers Qatar in 2021 towards the end of the race, tyre failures were almost like a hashtag, weren't they? And if anyone remembers back to Silverstone 2013, oops-a-daisy, I mean, Hamilton getting the pole lost the lead, didn't he? Because of a tyre failure. He could have got Mercedes' first win there. His first win for Mercedes there. So it said Formula One found itself in uncharted territory on Saturday morning when it emerged that Pirelli investigations had found problems with its tyres. Small separations in its construction caused by damage sustained from running across Losail's high curbs, and that triggered concerns about potential failures in the race. And this is from motorsport.com, a story. A hastily revised configuration of track limits allied to an emergency 10-minute practice session to get used to the new layout was the first step in a weekend that could now have a totally different feel. So, ahead of what could be mandated, it says a 3-stop Qatar Grand Prix could be mandated. They look at motorsport.com's looked at the key issues. What caused the tyre problem? Well, a routine analysis of sets in FP1 returned by the teams, and the company's boss, F1 boss at least, Mario Isola, I'm sorry if I've got that wrong, he says, saw an indication that there was, in the construction of the tyre on the sidewall, a small separation between carcass and cord and the topping compound. Sounds all very science. So it's getting almost scientific there, isn't it? So further investigation indicated that it's caused by the curbs, and especially those high-speed curbs in 12 and 13, where the drivers were spending a fairly long time on them, and some of them going wide and deleting their laps. But a perfect storm of time spent on the curbs, the high G loadings in the corner sequence, and the harshness of the curbs and their edges, plus the frequency, and, well, let's be honest, was not good for the tyres. So is this a new phenomenon? Well, tyre damage, as we just mentioned, caused at the, not last year's, but 2021 Qatar. So Isola, though, stressed that the specific problem discovered on Friday was a new one, noting, I can add that we've never found this issue. That's why we've informed the FIA. So is this a repeat of tyre failures from 2021? Now, Pirelli is keen to point out that their 18-inch tyres in use this year with a low-profile sidewall, whereas in 2021 it was using the 13-inch tyres. And that factor alone means that the two situations are different, although Isola says that the current tyres are not inherently more vulnerable. He says the smaller sidewall for sure is not helping because you have less opportunity to absorb the hit. But in general, when we made some specific tests on the 18-inch tyre, we realised that the level of resistance on the construction was in line with the 13 inches. So we are not saying the 18-inch tyre is weaker compared to the previous tyre. So what is wrong with the Qatar curbs and why can't they be changed? As we know, Losail, it made its debut in 2021 for the COVID, due obviously to the ongoing COVID, but this year marks the first round to be held at the venue as part of Qatar's 10-year host contract. And as such, the circuit has undergone upgrades, including these new curbs. Now, although these new curbs have been constructed to the FIA spec, they have a raised 50mm pyramid style, 5 centimeters outer edge that's created a high frequency. You know, when you hear that, blah, 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 that's probably like or blah, blah, blah. I'm trying to do the tyre noise and completely failing. I'm not. Oh well, moving on. But when you hear them going over that noise going over the tyres, it's obviously the tyres going over those, you know, to be fair, quite big bumps. You definitely feel it, I think, even in your road car. And that's with suspension. For F1 cars, don't really. If you've ever been in a go-kart, you kind of know what I mean. So the drivers are running over them faster and for longer compared to other tracks, says Pirelli. As the cars wash out wide to the perimeter, the inner sidewall drops over the curb edge and takes repeated impacts. There you go. You can't really appreciate the bumpiness of the curves. But the FIA, as we know, addressed modifying the curbs on Friday night due to those critical tyre problems were identified. Now, as an alternative, the white lines defining the track limits have been brought in by 80 centimetres to draw the drivers away from the curb edge. And told by Sky Sports, safety is absolutely our number one priority here. We did consider modifying the curbs, but in time we had from late at night, you know, the time they had until today, that would have not been possible. It was not one or two single curbs, it was quite an extent. They would have all had to be filed off, and that's very hard concrete. That would not have been possible. So on the basis, the next thing we got was to actually get the cars to stay a bit further away from the curbs, which is what we've done by the change to the white line. And why could the Qatar be a 3-stopper, not a 2-stopper? Well, with Pirelli and FIA concluding that a safe tyre life for the Qatar Grand Prix track is 20 laps, it would be logical to suggest that Sunday's 57-lap race would make a mandatory 2-stop to ensure all drivers fell in line. However, should F1 go ahead forcing a maximum 20-lap tyre life, then it will also impose a 3-stop race. It may seem strange to put both actions in place, but I said there's logic behind it. He said it's 57 laps, and if you impose a 2-stop, the risk is to have all the cars on the same lap coming in, he said. That makes confusion, so if you impose a maximum number of laps at 20, but 3 stops, you have the flexibility to play around with this. Will the teams get any potential sets, though? So, as we know, a 3-stop means that some drivers may find themselves short of the best compound. Matters also not helped by the fact that the teams had to conduct that extra 10-minute practice. But Isola has said there's no scope for extra tyres to be handed out, even on safety grounds, because there's not enough spare sets on the ground. We don't have a number of tyres that can give us the possibility to fit an additional set of any compound, he said. We have spare tyres, but we cannot give one medium to you, one soft to him, and one hard to another. But I believe that with the current format, we have plenty of tyres in the allocation. And don't forget, they start with 12 sets, and they only have to return 2. So, there we go. A final decision, though, on whether or not extra safety measures will be imposed will be made on Saturday night, and presumably after the sprint race. And with the issue of tyre separation only being noticeable once tyres have been cut open and examined under the microscope, there's little further analysis. Now, the issue that they may have is there wasn't enough running in the sprint race, I think, because it's a 19-lap race, but we had a couple of safety cars, didn't we? I think we had a few even safety cars. So 3 in total, I think, with Lawson, I think Sargent, and then obviously that massive crash with Perez going out and Verstappen being crowned champion. So getting into though the sprint grid, as we know, Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris, the first McLaren front row, they said, since Brazil 2012, which was Jenson Button and Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton's last race, who was looking like he could win, but Jenson Button ended up winning it for a time for nearly a decade until a certain Daniel Ricciardo came. That looked to be McLaren. That was, McLaren's last victory. So Max Verstappen qualified third, disappointing there. But you know, all good if you're a McLaren fan, or I think a fan of F1, because it made it really exciting going into the race. And Verstappen had a shocking start, didn't he? George Russell 4th, Carlos Sainz 5th, Leclerc 6th, Hülkenberg 7th, Perez 8th, only 8th. Once again, one of the best cars, only 8th. Oh, Perez. 9th and 10th for Alonso and Ocon. I think they got their times deleted, didn't they? 11th, Gasly. Oh dear, Hamilton 12th, a victim as well. Basically, not staying in between those two white lines. So Lawson ended up being 14th, Bottas 13th. They had Lawson in a Alfa Romeo sandwich with Zhou 15th, Stroll 16th. Oh, Stroll. Alex Albon 17th, 18th Yuki Tsunoda, 19th Kevin Magnussen, and Logan Sargent is in 20th. So, what about the actual race? Wow. Here we go. I mean, that was the starting grid. Now we're looking at the sprint race. We've got Piastri. Winning in the McLaren Mercedes. It sounds like the 90s again, doesn't it? Late 90s. Max Verstappen 1.8 seconds. I mean, he caught him on the last lap, but I think Oscar definitely wasn't cruising. But I think he was taking it a bit easier, knowing that Verstappen was not going to catch him. Well done to Lando Norris after his oops-a-daisy first lap. He ends up coming back in 3rd. George Russell 4th. I think that's the best he could have done on those tyres, because they were destroyed. He even wanted in that last safety car. He wanted to come in. He was begging to come in, but his engineers were like, computer says no. 5th, Lewis Hamilton. He did a good comeback drive after a really disappointing qualifying. Both the Ferrari 6th and 7th, that was, I think, a result of their choice of tyres. Albon, well done, Alex Albon, finishing in the top 10, but 8th, getting that 1 point. Alonso 9th, Gasly 10th. I mean, disappointing there. Bottas 11th, Tsunoda 12th, Lance Stroll 13th, average, I guess. Kevin Magnussen 14th, and Zhou 15th. And that was it for the actual finishers, believe it or not. In a sprint race, 19 laps. What's going to happen in the race? I think this has got everyone excited for the race. And in terms of sprint race, I think in terms of action, this was probably one of the best sprint races up there in terms of action. I think it was up there. Another one that was quite exciting, I think, for at least for Hamilton fans, Mercedes fans, was that Brazil 2021. Where there were quite a few passes there, most of them done by Hamilton, but because of the whole storyline of him going in, that made it really exciting. But here, I think there was action up and down the grid. The people that didn't finish, obviously Hülkenberg, Ocon and Perez in that scuffle, let's say, that racing incident. Surely it's a racing incident. And Logan Sargent and Liam Lawson going off by themselves, but Logan Sargent making it two more laps than Liam Lawson. So I mean, that's pretty much it. If there's anything breaking, I potentially will let you know. But this is it. I mean, who's going to win? Who's going to win the Qatar Grand Prix? You have to give it to Verstappen. What's going to be interesting, though, is the Mercedes, Ferrari, McLaren race. McLaren really have the second fastest car. Well, I say easy by a good few tenths. But no one knows what's going to happen to the tyres and even the sprint race. I mean, the softs really ran out, didn't they? And that was with, a few safety cars. So all I'm going to say is I think Verstappen's going to win. But, wow, isn't it exciting going into the sprint, from the sprint race to the actual race. I mean, that sprint race was just, a third of what the actual race is going to be. So I'll be watching it. Probably my eyes and stalks. If that action is anything to go by, I hope now it doesn't tease us and we have a boring race. Fingers crossed we don't. It's going to be really exciting. Stay tuned. We'll be speaking to you guys after the race. Thank you very much. Once again, I've had a few comments from people. Some people, I don't want to name them in case they don't want to be named. Maybe I will at a later date. But some people have been so kind to me. In the comments. I just wanted to send out a massive thank you. You guys know who you are. Such lovely words. I was a bit sad and ran to my family, my other half, and went, look at this. This is awesome. So I was happy. And the subscribers subscribing, liking, and commenting. I try and get to every comment. I will at some point. I promise. I do try. And thank you so much. It does mean a lot doing this. I really enjoy doing this, and the fact that people subscribe, like, comment, etc. means so much to me. So thank you so much. This has been the Hot Lap. We will speak to you next time.